Welcome into Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff with you. Great to have you along. This episode brought to you by Hurst Fabrication. Appreciate them, Construction and Fabrication, sponsoring this episode. And check out their website and see what all they do for manufacturers, oil fields, and more. We got Coach Wendy Landes with us today. And Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just enjoying this week full of not heat.
Yeah. Well, let's start. What's it like right now coaching? And people can't see, but you had to come in on the crutches because of you picked a great time to get some knee work, huh?
Yeah. 3 weeks ago I had a total knee replacement, so it's super fun coaching 100 runners on crutches, but we're getting it done. I have a great assistant coaching staff, so it's been pretty good.
Well, how's the cross country season going?
It's actually really good. This is the first year that I've been a head coach that I can actually say we have 100 runners. We have 59 high school, and then the junior high fills out the last 40. So it's actually going really good right now. We've had a couple of meets under our belt. Our first one was at Deer Creek, and I took just the high school runners that had been running all summer, and they had some pretty good medalists there at Deer Creek at that 6A meet. And then last week we went to Owasso to our fun meet because it's like a cross-country relay. So they actually run 1.5 miles, then hand the baton off, and there's 4 legs that do it that way. So that was a fun meet. And then tomorrow we have our first junior high meet.
What's the difference in coaching cross-country, say, than some of the other sports? Because, there has to be some different... Because, you're running... And a lot of it's somebody's got to work on their own. I know you do some practices, things like that, but how's it different than maybe when we talk about some of the sports that are traditionally seen more like basketball, football,
running plays,
all those,
and stuff like that? We basically gear them up to the beginning on hydration and nutrition. That's the main thing we teach, and then we get their running base down. And once we get their running base down, they kind of autopilot on their own. And we're there at specific places to make sure they're on their paces that we've set for them. So each individual runner has, like, we want you coming in here at 2:20. And so we make sure they're as close to that pace as possible just with all the coaches. But a lot of times they're on that race, they're by themselves because we can't be all 3 miles at one time. But we do get a lot of miles in, or I will later, not right now.
Yeah. And what's it like? I think like down Oklahoma State has a big cross country. Mm-hmm. They have that new Griner.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure you may have run down there, because they have some high school stuff. But what's it like? Cross country, it's pretty big in the state of Oklahoma. There's some good tracks and stuff out there, isn't there?
There is, and cross country keeps growing. I've noticed that. I ran high school cross country, and it was pretty big then. We ran our meets on Saturdays, and it was a big thing then. But it's consistently gotten where more kids are running, and there's more elite groups within high school. And like you used to have just varsity JV, and now we have these elite runners that are putting off these times that are at collegiate levels, and so they're able to compete at higher levels even in high school.
Yeah, and the other thing too, a lot of people don't know, it is an individual sport, but also a team sport, and even running in groups can make a huge difference on where you finish.
Absolutely. We teach buddy running and stay with the person in front of you. We like to get them to run in those chains and to stay connected. So we preach stay connected to our top 5 runners at all times, because if they can see them, we can all get those low numbers, because the lowest score is what you want to aim for in cross country.
And it's always funny to me because it's like, somebody sets a pace early, they'll fall back. Mm-hmm. And somebody, you got to know yourself and know your team, and just having that buddy, like you said, to push you along makes a big difference.
And they allow them to wear, non-GPS, like we can't talk to them on it and they can't map themselves, but they let them pay, have their watches so they can kind of see where they're at. But we like to have that first mile, where they're not burning themselves out. We have a couple of runners who try to stay with that lead runner. We're like, don't do that, because then that second mile they're super struggling and add a couple of minutes and they're trying to backtrack. But it's the first half of the year. It seems like we're constantly preaching, stay on your pace, stay on your pace, stay on your pace.
Yeah, distance running always seems like something that it always is interesting to me, because with most sports, and even when you think most sports, running's discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And
they do it for punishment. We do it for
fun. And track and field, you have some long distance running, but the short distance, the sprints, you're doing that. But the long distance, some people are like, why would I ever want to do that?
Why would I go out and run 5 miles at a time for fun? Yeah.
But it's good. And what's funny with it? I meet a lot of people that are older, my age, that didn't do anything like that, but then they fell in love with it when they got older as a way to stay in shape. So this promotes great healthy habits for the future.
It does. I ran marathons, and I used to run half marathons a lot until I started having all these knee surgeries. But it's just they get addicted to it, and they start running on weekends by themselves, and then they have all these group runs, and then they're going to college and running, and that's what we're trying to get, is them to find something that keeps them healthy year round.
Yeah, and I was like that too when I was at OSU. They have Boomer Lake down there is a great little
love that place.
5K to run around, and I would go run almost every day, and it became a deal. I did that almost every day for
Where
a
you
couple
felt
of
bad
years.
if you didn't run. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, it's exactly right, and it just made you feel better about yourself, made
Absolutely.
you feel better about your health and everything.
Yes.
So. Probably should get back into that, but
Sometimes it's hard as we get older. We get busy.
It is, but that's the one thing I like is like you are doing something now. I know injuries can happen in the future, and injuries do happen even in cross country. But you're teaching something that they can keep with them their whole
Forever,
life.
like golf, cross country, all those things, they can keep doing it. We're really young this year. I didn't realize how young we were until I started looking at the stats of how many freshmen and sophomore we have. So we've got a base for the next few years on out. So
Well, that's good.
It's nice.
And who are some of the top performers? Who are the people that we look to see medaling a lot this year?
Last year, JC Davis was my girl that went to state, and she placed 15th in the state, and she placed fourth at our first meet, third at our first meet at Deer Creek. And so, she's going to be a top contender, but she rounds out with a group of freshmen that did really well on their junior high level with Gabby Alva and a few of those other girls that are also running pretty strong. And on the boys' side, last year we lost Bert, which was one of those things where you're like, oh, we lost Bert. But Isaiah Olivis came in as our starting runner last year and just kept getting better. And he's a senior this year, and he medaled pretty high, placing fourth at Deer Creek. And then we have a freshman, Wesley Vaughn, who won, and placed in all of his junior high meets last week, and he's high up there on that, high school medaling. Those are the four medalists we had in that first meet, and then we had some JV that medaled in theirs. But it's just kind of hit and miss. But we have a good group of 5 where I think we can actually take those teams to state this year.
Well, and then the progression. You have somebody that places 15th, and now she's placing third or fourth.
Yes.
I mean. Do you see a big jump in between years with these kids?
Sometimes their freshman year is like that first year they're running 5Ks because they came off of running 1.5 miles and 2 miles in junior high, and now we're first throwing them into a 5K. It's that skittish year, and she did so well last year that she's gotten where she just loves it. So she's gotten the bug, and so her goal is to go to state every year, and we have freshmen that want to go to state, and that's their main thing is everybody wants to go to state. Everybody wants to go to state, so they're automatically working to hit those progressions, get regional.
And so. All right, if I were to run a 5K, I'd say a lot of people would be 40 minutes, something like that. So what are these kids running the 5K?
I believe Isaiah's time was 17:46 for his first meet. And then Wesley ran just over 18 as a freshman. JC ran, I think, a 23 something. So the girls are, of course, notoriously going to be slower. But like the winning guy at that Deer Creek meet ran a 15.
Wow.
And so like they're automatically producing those times, and our kids keep getting faster and they keep getting more disciplined in practice. So it's kind of fun to watch.
And naturally, we've talked about other sports dealing with the heat. You've been having to deal with the heat as well. So how have you been coping with that?
We've had to take our practices inside a lot and do a lot of cross training. We practiced, before school started, we move our practices up in the morning or late in the evening. But once school started, we had to start using that 7th hour and take our practices inside, doing a lot of cross training, a lot of stretching, a lot of mobility exercises to keep them going. And then when it was cooler at night, they were running on their own.
Well, and it's a unique sport when it comes to the heat and heat exhaustion, because unlike other sports where you're kind of contained, with this you're all spread out and you don't necessarily have a coach around every corner or somebody watching you. So the heat is much more scary for cross country.
We stopped running routes during that heat. We usually just send them on a route, and we have a checkpoint every half mile where we have a coach or a manager. We stopped going on routes during that heat and ran them all in the park. Our park by the tennis courts is where we run a lot of our races, where we can see everybody at all times. And given those water breaks every 15 minutes, it makes practice longer, but it's just something to keep them all safe. So it's we're really preaching the hydration right now, and thankful this week is so much better than last week.
Well, when you hit a meet and you have the high heat, kind of I know some stuff did get canceled, but what do you do?
They moved the times up. So notoriously, what they've been doing is they move the times up into the morning, and then they're canceling junior high, which is unfortunate that those afternoon meets have to be canceled. But for heat, they have to. So a lot of times they're just shifting those to morning times before that heat index sets in, which is what they did at Owasso. They moved us up 3 or 4 hours until the morning, and then canceled the junior high. Yeah. So I'm hoping that our meet in a couple of weeks will be nice.
All right. Last thing for you. What's the goals that you want out of the cross-country team this year?
I want to take teams to state. That's kind of, we were conference last year. We did really good. We had Bert and JC both win conference. We want to see returns on those conference wins, and we want to actually do some placing as full teams instead of taking individuals. So our whole goal is to get teams there this year and get as many kids in the program and staying in the program.
Yeah. Well, it's tough in 6A like it is in every other sport. There's a lot of great runners out there. So best of luck.
Thank
and let's hopefully you got a team going to state, get everybody qualified, and go down there and maybe do something special.
That's right. Absolutely. Thank you.
So, Wendy Landes with us. That's going to do it for today's Coach's Corner. It's been brought to you by Hurst Construction and Fabrication. Jordan Woodruff saying so long for this episode. Until next time, go Cats.